Every journey has a story with people and events and accomplishments and, well, life. This is Virginia Clark's journey, a journey that started way back at a company called Burroughs. They thought so highly of her at Burroughs that the company even sent her on vacation to meet the number one and number two Burroughs in the company. But eventually things got a little bit weird when they rolled out their new logo. But one day, while handing out some healthcare forms, Virginia took a long look at these two corporate mascots and felt the cultural appropriation they exhibit was just inappropriate. So she stormed into the board meeting and screamed, "Hold on, mi amigos," and she gave them the option. They either change the name of the company or they get a 10-minute lecture on feelings. So yeah, they chose the former. But meanwhile, there was another company that was in just as desperate situation as they were, a company called Sperry. Apparently Sperry decided to branch off into making casual shoe wear and was looking to merge its computer operations with someone else. So Sperry and Burroughs got together and decided to merge and start anew. The only question was, what do you call this new powerhouse team? They needed something that would exhibit unity and systematic cooperation. Of course, Virginia had an opinion. In fact, she was known as Dr. O among the executive team. Anyway, Virginia gave her opinion that this industry was just too male dominated and needed some female culture. No, 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 it's not what you think, she says. But of course, the male dominant executive team just laughed and giggled. It's a little, too south of the Mason-Dixon line, if you know what I mean. Wink, wink.
Hey, know what I mean? Know what I mean? Nudge, nudge, know what I mean? Say no more. He does, I'll bet he does. Say no more, say no more, know what I mean? Nudge, nudge. Nod's as good as a wink to a blind bat.
So they really wanted something to exemplify the unity of their systems. So vagina wouldn't work. Of course, wanting to represent the Gloria Steinem in all of us, she made another proposal, which they immediately rejected as not representing their male-dominated client base or employee base. At this point, Virginia was getting a bit frustrated that the men in charge were just not having the balls to say what they meant. So she offered this. Yeah, they thought that was a bit too passive-aggressive. In a final attempt to be heard, Virginia finally gave them what she thought that every man wanted. Of course, being men, and this being the 1980s, they just assumed that Virginia wanted to have sex with each one of them one at a time. So eventually they settled on Unisys, and Virginia went back to her daily work habit of handing out papers and stapling things, and she was just happy to get back to a normal working environment. Well, until she found out that in the merger, Sperry had actually bought a copier with an integrated stapler, and that was half her job. She was screaming and yelling. Anyway, lucky for Virginia, she had a bit of a distraction that would kind of take her away from the angst of mergers and acquisitions and copiers with staplers. That distraction was, yeah, look at them. Her looking like a princess, him looking like a 70s porn star. Yeah, they look so happy, carefree. If, you know what? If there was only a way to just know what they were thinking at this moment. Of course, eventually, she had even more things to distract her from her career. too little distractions. Personally, we prefer to call them children, not distractions, but certainly VA was always attentive to her little distractions. But hey, she's not retiring from her family, so let's not get into that family thing. Let's get back to her work life. Over time, Virginia was promoted from senior HR representative to manager of compensation and benefits. And now, instead of handing out insurance forms, she was left explaining what a PTO meant and whatever happened to all those sick days that we used to get. Well, as they say, all good things must come to an end. And yeah, Unisys finally discovered the internet and allowed people to download their paperwork online. So that left her with nothing left to do. So she left the comfort that she had known forever and had decided to move on. But to where? Where? What sap is going to hire me? Who's going to hire me, she thought. Well, there was a sap. A big sap. In fact, the biggest sap in the world. And realizing the Germans couldn't understand her as long as she kept talking in American colloquialisms and unreferenced metaphors and feathered innuendo, Virginia quickly moved up the corporate ladder. Interestingly, when she got to the level of HR practice, the first thing she did was insist that no one in HR should actually do anything. We're not HR do, we're HR practice. Just practice. And she even enlisted a celebrity to help her deliver her message. Well, you know what we're talking about.
Talking about practice, man. What are we talking about? Practice? We're talking about practice, man. We're talking about practice. We're talking about practice.
Yeah. So as she continued to climb the SAP ladder, she continued to make up these wild fake titles until one day she ended up reaching the top. She knew she reached the top when they said, "I'm sorry, Mrs. Clark, but we just can't fit any more words on a business card." Everything seemed quite rosy until one day she had a meeting with the CEO and she asked the inevitable question, what the hell does SAP mean in German? And yeah, she found it hard to believe.
Which of course in German means a whale's vagina.
No, there's no way that's correct.
Well, she then she led learning practices for the IQ group. She was the practice lead and strategist. Practice. We talk about practice. Again, practice.
We talking about practice. You understand me? Practice. It's your last, right? No, we talking about practice, man. Practice.
Yeah, that seemed fine until there was a bitter argument about whether she should just continue to practice or actually really do something. So finally, she found a job where she could stop practicing and start doing. But there was one problem. Partner. That's it, she wondered? Just partner? Sounded good, but it was surely the shortest title she had ever had, and clearly for a career-minded business executive who prides herself on the number of letters in her title, this just wasn't right, and she couldn't go on. So she did find her final home at a company called SDL. More importantly, she was back to having a title that needed more than 3 lines on a business card. She had incredible success and had a monumental impact, and she really made her mark by developing a new strategic direction for the company. Here, we see how she changed Taco Tuesday to Straw Hat Tuesday, and obviously the employees were overjoyed. Here we see she was actually awarded Outstanding Leader of People in 2019. Yay! She's actually here with all 12 people who voted. But alas, the joy didn't last long. SDL was bought by RWS in their ongoing attempt to buy three-letter companies. So, okay, there she was, faced with yet another hurdle in a long, storied career, working for companies that would send her all over the world. And much to their surprise, she kept finding her way back. So after a long career of handing out health insurance forms and climbing the corporate ladder and finding the longest job titles, collecting business cards, and spending an inordinate amount of time in practice. Now, put that behind you, VA. It's time to put all that behind you and do the things you really like to do, and moreover, the things you do best.